Hello and welcome to this episode of the Business Spotlight. Today we are joined by Peter from Esprit Digital, the CEO. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Mark. How are we doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Thanks for joining us today. So, welcome to the Business Spotlight. So, for those of you that are joining us for the first time, the Business Spotlight, it's for us to learn a little bit more about business, a bit more about Peter and his business journey, and it's to aid you with your knowledge of business and potentially the business or entrepreneurship journey that you're on. So, Peter, if you could just kick things off for us by telling the audience who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it for.
I run a company called Esprit Digital, as Mark said, and we do some unusual work with screens. We make LCD and LED solutions for literally any kind of application, anywhere in the world, and then we support them for life. And by screen applications, I don't mean screens in your home or what you're looking at now on laptops and TV and desktop screens. I'm talking about either great big screens that you've seen for trophy sites in airports or roadside billboards, right down to making ruggedized tablets for when you go into a retail store and you press on what looks like an iPad, but is actually something that lasts you for 5 years.
Fantastic. That's great. Well, thanks for sharing that one, Peter. So, wow. So what would you say makes you or gives you that niche or that difference over your competitors?
Well, we're prepared to look at anything, I suppose, anywhere, as I said. So a good example, we just come off site about a year ago in the world's kind of first 6-star hotel called Raffles in Doha, which is the capital of Qatar. And this was kind of a money no object. We need the wow moment. And we converted the atrium ceiling, as you look up, into an art feature using LED, using an irregular parabolic shaped LED that was made up of hundreds of individually made tiles that formed the largest kaleidoscope in the world. And as a one-off, there's not many companies in the world that would even be interested in doing stuff like that. But our team, we absolutely love things like that. Anything that's new and a bit different. It's a very niche world that we exist in on that side. And then we can do the more mundane stuff, which is putting screens in shop windows, all over the country for retailers to promote their wares and get people into the stores.
Wow, that's a fantastic share, and it doesn't get much more niche or sort of different from your competitors as a one-off sort of example there. So thanks for that share. That's brilliant. So what's the journey been like to date? I mean, I know your business has been running for some time now. So if you could just give us I don't know, like a whistle-stop tour of the beginnings and sort of bring us up to date, that would be fantastic, Peter.
Well, 22 years ago, we had a client. We were making screens on a small scale, and we got invited to speak to London Underground. And at the very end of the conversation, which was about nothing to do with what transpired, someone said, "Oh, well, wouldn't it be great if we could have screens on the escalators?" And sort of my ears pricked up, my partner's ears pricked up. Everyone was like, "Whoa!" And he's the techie guy. He's the brains in the outfit, and he said, "Well, we can do that." And you could have heard a pin drop, because that became the digital escalator panels on London Underground. And we went away, and 18 months later, we were on the first station at Tottenham Court Road. We had 66 screens going up the escalator. We had Rocky running through all the screens up one side, round at the top and down the other side. And we caused security incidents with everyone wanting to see what was on these screens. It was amazing. Literally, it was a light bulb moment. It won ridiculous awards like Campaign Magazine Innovation of the Year Award. It was front page of Media Week for 6 months. Anyone who went on it, was featured. And we transformed at a stroke with a bit of very clever hardware, really clever hardware. We transformed a really poor advertising medium, which was the underground, which was dirty and dangerous and not well loved at all by the brands, because all they had to advertise on were these paper squares that were defaced the whole time. And as I say, in the first 6 months, we probably had 10 of the world's top 20 advertisers try it out and give it a go and put, proper content on escalators with image flow, which was our program, which, as I say, allowed the content to flow through the screens, literally. And that put us on our way. And it was literally the hardest job we've ever done, because there were so many challenges to overcome, and mainly with the technology and the heat, which we did. Took time, effort, money, but it happened, and luckily it worked. It worked to such a degree that the Underground not rolled it out to all the Zone A stations. The advertising was going for some serious money, to such a degree that there were no price increases for the next 2 or 3 years on the Underground. So it made an actual material difference to London life. And then we went on our journey and exported it to Vienna, Prague, Oslo, and various other European cities, various other airports that had escalators using the same technology, and lifts as well. All the lifts at Heathrow, for instance, in all 5 terminals have got our equivalent version of the escalator panels. And then we went on our way, exporting that and other solutions, and all the other solutions, which like primarily things like the big totems that we do for people like Westfield and other big mall chains around the world, have now become kind of an industry staple. And yet they started with one-offs in Brent Cross in the mid-2000s, and everybody thought, well, this is a good idea. Why don't we take out all our paper traditional advertising and put in screens? And an industry was born. And as I say, the hardest one we'd already done. So every other thing that we've done ever since has been relatively straightforward.
Wow, what a phenomenal share. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Peter. What a journey so far. So, I mean, that brings us up to sort of speed. So what's the future hold? What does the future look like? And what sort of things do you think you're going to be challenged with going into the future?
Well, we're a bit limited by our imagination, because theoretically screens are going to be everywhere. I mean, obviously we're looking at screens in our working life, in our private life. The kind of tech that I'm being asked to evaluate, things like paint that become screens, so that opens up a whole other world. Every surface can be a screen, as long as there's someone prepared to pay for it, or it's either revenue generating or it's creating an environment that people want to be in. You know, there's literally no limit to what could happen with the screens. I think I see it as becoming much more mainstream, whereas at the moment it's been confined to specialist players. I think it's going to be more mainstream, like IT or facilities management, those kind of sectors, where you'll have a dedicated screen person if you haven't already. A lot of big companies do, but then that will filter down to the kind of medium and smaller companies. And I think that will become very much a vertical in and of itself. And screens will just be another thing you buy. You won't go into a building, for instance. You won't go into a bank. You mentioned Deutsche Bank earlier. You won't go into any bank reception and there won't be, you know, a big single, you know, LED screen that is showing some kind of interesting content that's either related to the bank or is just a general making the area seem nice. Likewise, we're going to have a lot of facade screens coming online. It tends to be in the kind of more Middle Eastern cultures and those kind of societies that like to have screens on the outside of buildings. That will, I think, start to become more and more fashionable here. At the moment, it tends to be just advertising companies that put them up, but I can see, you know, you make your building, you buy your building, you put it up in your head office, and you're going to have, you know, a serious screen on the front and be part of the planning application. I think, as I say, mainstream is, I think, where we're heading.
Wow. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be a massive part of everybody's lives with the screens going forwards. And yeah, I mean, that's a great share. Thanks for that. So moving on to yourself then, Peter, as the business owner, as the CEO, what's been your biggest lesson today? I'm sure there's probably been a few, but if you had to just pick one out, what would it be?
Well, my immediate thought was, be careful who you fall out with, because that's always a good lesson in life, not just business. But no, I think the thing you learn is think longer term. You know, everyone wants to make a fortune by the time they're 30. Everyone comes out of school with, you know, all this energy and ideas and the buzz, and you want to be out by 30 on a deck chair in the Bahamas. And the reality is that's hard. It does happen, but that's a really hard thing to achieve. So if you set your goals a little bit further into the future, and you think you want to build something a little bit more sustainable, and something that you can look back on, and something that can keep you amused throughout your middle age, I think that's a very good target. And part of that is keeping the work-life balance that the Americans love to talk about. And it's so true. If you're all about work, if you wake up and you think about nothing else until you go to sleep, and that's 7 days a week, you're going to be a very boring person, number one, and very single-tracked. But more importantly, you're just going to be unfulfilled and unhappy, right? Take your time off. Make sure you've got, it doesn't have to be an exotic holiday. Take a day off. Take a day off at home. Watch the snooker, do a jigsaw, get in the garden, do nothing, but don't think about work all the time. If you can get that balance right, and believe me, it's harder. And very often I don't get it right. But if I'm giving advice, that would be it. Get the balance right.
Wow, that is an awesome, powerful share. I think a lot of our viewers will be able to take heed from that. And I think you're quite right. I know it's quite a bit of, well, like you said, an Americanism, but it's that equilibrium of life balance, isn't it? That many of us have and will and do struggle to achieve on a consistent basis. So yeah, that's a really great piece of advice. Thanks for that, Peter. So my next question is probably one of my favorite questions, and we've kind of covered it off a little bit, but if I had a magic wand that I could just wave and we was going to sort of go back to, say, an 18-year-old Peter, and you was able to have the information and knowledge that you've currently got in your head, but you was going to give your 18-year-old self, which a lot of our viewers will probably resonate with, one piece of advice, one single nugget of advice.
Yeah.
What would it be?
One bit of advice for an 18-year-old Peter. Oh, the mind boggles what that looked like. I've seen some pictures and it's not pretty. I would say don't listen to the doom mongers. Don't listen to the negative the whole time. Because if you're going to either start a business, or you've got an idea or invention, or you've got a new route that you want to explore, all you're going to hear is a wave of negative. You can't do that. The amount of roadblocks that get thrown. And this isn't just an English thing or a British thing. We're particularly good at bureaucracy, but there are other places in the world where it's equally hard for people to start up and be successful in a reasonable time frame. But don't listen to that. If you really believe in something, say yourself a time goal. Say, right, I've got 18 months worth of money or whatever to get to the point where I think we'll be able to either raise or I'll be able to make some money out of it. And just block out the noise. It's a bit like at the moment. I mean, you can't watch the news at the moment without getting completely necked down, because it's all boom and gloom about everything, economy, inflation. Don't get me started on interest rates. So that kind of stuff. Don't go down that wormhole. Say, I've got my idea, I believe in it, until it's absolutely proven that idea won't work. Well, you carry on with it.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice. I think a lot of people do with the naysayers or the negativity that can come one's way, especially if you're sort of just coming up with an idea for a business. And it's quite easy, isn't it, when you're having those darker days, to sort of like let that negativity in. So yeah, sort of being resilient and having that tenacity to run with what it is that you're doing makes a lot of sense.
You've got to know your own mind, really. And if you believe, the wealthiest and most successful, I should say, people around are all people that bucked the trend and did the opposite of what everyone told them they could do. The Dysons of this world and this one and that one, they were all told, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, no, that makes an awful lot of sense, and another great share. So, Peter, you've been running your business now, like you've said, 22 years. So what is it that really fires you up? What is it that inspires you to continue to do what you do on a daily, weekly basis?
Well, I still enjoy it. I like to think I'm still okay at it. I've got, as you say, plenty of experience. There's not many situations we haven't faced before as a company, and we're always innovating. This is the thing. I own a tech business, and I'm the least techie person in it. The newest the newest engineer in is 100 times cleverer than I am. I just have to go out and sell it or organise it for it to be sold. So I think because it's always new and because the market is very dynamic, and because we're in a sector that is growing year on year, there's no doubt screens are growing. It still keeps me interested.
Yeah, I think that's so important, isn't it? Finding something that you really enjoy and love to do. And you know, I think the saying is find something you love doing and you'll never work another day in your life. Now, how much water that holds, but I think it's so true that if you do enjoy your job, which not everybody does, or if at least you enjoy what you're doing, then that is one of the keys to happiness.
Sure. Fulfillment is probably one of the main parts of life. I think when you're 18, you think it's all about money. I just need a lump of money as quickly as I can get. That's one part of fulfillment. It may be only one part of it. The rest of it, you've got to get right in other areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thanks again for that share. It's been brilliant. So to wrap us up then, Peter, I mean, you got any sort of news that you want to sort of tell our viewers, anything that's current or coming up? And if people do want to get hold of you, which I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people that do, what's the best way for them to get hold of you, Peter?
Okay, well, we don't just get involved in the giga projects, all the ones I've mentioned, all sound enormous and huge. Like the one behind me here is one of 325 screens we put into Doha Airport last year, which was quite a feat in itself. They are using our new Lumos LED tiles, our new brand, and that's what's new because previously we've always made our solutions from other people's screens, but in the last 4 or 5 years now, we've been developing our own technology that is proprietary, and we've got our own brand, and now that's going to be going out through resellers throughout the world. And one of the new products that I showed at the retail show last week is called a standee, which is literally, as it sounds, a standalone LED that you can wheel around a store or an airport or a public space, and you can have as many of them as you like. We showed 4 of them in one wall together, and it's completely seamless, and you just click them in 2 seconds flat. And we're quite excited about that particular product range. It's not just the big stuff that we do. We're happy to do, as I say, anything in screens gets us excited and out of bed.
Fantastic. Was that one of those little tiles that you showed me earlier, Peter?
Yeah. So this tile is what everything is made up of. This is a Lumos tile. And as you can see, it's pretty flexible both ways, and you can have it going around corners or making huge canvases of screen. And yeah, it's an exciting development. It's an exciting time for the space, and we're honoured. I think you caught me just as I opened the press release today. We've just won the King's Award for overseas trade.
Wow, congratulations.
Thanks very much. We won the Queen's Award in 2016, and I was invited to the palace, and we met the Queen on her 90th birthday, and now to win it again. I don't think there's many companies that have done both the Queens and the Kings, certainly not in our space. So at least being recognised, which is always nice, because most of our business, in some years, it's 90% is export. And obviously that's good news for the balance of payments.
Wow, that is phenomenal. That is a great share, and thank you. And you've just got the email. You just received the email today.
Yeah, no, literally the press release just went out this morning.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Well, what I'll do is I think you've got the video from last week. I'll pop that in the link below so that when people watch the video, they can jump on that link as well.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Also,
to get hold of us, it's dead easy. espritdigital.com, www.espritdigital.com.
Fantastic. Well, Peter, thank you so much for joining us today on the Business Spotlight.
Pleasure, Mark. Thanks for having me.
And it's been great. And to all of our viewers, that's another episode of the Business Spotlight, and we'll see you all again very soon. Bye for now.